Well, thank you very much indeed. I would like to thank Al-Sharq Forum for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. I come from the Kurdistan region of Iraq. In the last 2.5 years, we have been the front line fighting ISIS. We have been home to 1.8 million refugees and IDPs. And also we have seen an economic crisis as a result of Baghdad cutting our budget and also the drop in oil prices. This is an introduction, but also history has betrayed us because Kurds were divided against their will between Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. We have become minorities in 4 countries. That in itself has created a problem for us. Therefore, I come from a different perspective than my Iranian colleague or my Turkish colleague. Sure. But we have to be realistic. We have to be very honest. We have to address the issues, and we have to tackle them in order to find solutions for them. When we go back to the Kurdish revolution in Iraq, it started in 1961 by asking for democracy for Iraq and then autonomy for Kurdistan region. Why we stress on democracy? Because without having a democratic atmosphere, you would not be able to solve problems. So therefore, I'm not saying that democracy is the panacea that would solve all the problems, but it will open the door for addressing issues. Going back to the history of the Middle East and North Africa, it has been obsessed with denial of identities, oppression, repression, humiliation, deprivation. This has been the history of these countries. And also, where do you stand? For example, Iran, the Iranians want it from their own perspective. They don't care about the minorities who live there. Turkey, the same thing, Saudi Arabia, and all this. Even going back to the nature and setup of these countries, we have not seen an order that has been working. Therefore, it's good that we are initiating this subject in order to see what kind of order, what kind of arrangement, what kind of mechanism in order to make sure that people can live together in peace. Because we have never seen that these people or governments who were in power had a strategy to solve the problems. Iraq had never had a strategy to solve the Kurdish question, because when they were weak, they would call for dialogue. When they get stronger, they would evade that and they would come and attack Kurdistan region. Therefore, there has to be a strategy in order to deal with this. The Middle East region and North Africa, this is a very rich and diverse area. Nations, languages, cultures, and religion. So it's rich in all terms, in human but also in natural resources. But have we been able to live in peace? Can we name 2 countries which are neighboring with each other and they are living in peace and cooperation? No. There is always the tendency of interfering in the others, supporting the opposition group here and there. That's why there has been no policy of living in peace and promoting peace and peaceful coexistence. Otherwise, such a kind of rich and diverse region in the world, not to be able to find a language of communication, this is a problem in itself. Do we need that security arrangement today? If we need it, why? And who would be providing it? And against whom? This is also an important question. We believe that the rearrangements of the drawing of the boundaries against the will of the people, dividing nations, peoples, families, and tribes, has not worked, has failed, and we are seeing the impact in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria, and Libya. But are we ready for a positive change, a change that would lead to peace, prosperity, and peaceful coexistence? But do we have the right tools in our hand? And who would be these regional powers? Some of the regions, by denying these problems, we cannot solve them. Yesterday, in some of the closed sessions, I was thinking that I am hearing people in Switzerland, in Germany, others. That was not the case. We live in an area which is full of problems. Each and every single community, in each and single nations, we have problems. Let's be honest. Let's identify them, prioritize, and solve these problems. Because I come from a perspective that in Kurdistan region of Iraq, 4,500 of our villages were destroyed by Saddam Hussein. It was only on the 16th of March, 3 days ago, of 1988, Halabja was chemically gassed, 5,000 people were killed. The notorious Anfal operation was carried out, whereby we lost 182,000 people. This is my history. Living in Iraq, and they were called us, and in the constitution, we were supposed to be partners in that country. We have not felt that we were partners. That's why we have to be realistic. What's there in the constitution and papers have not been translated into action. So that's why we have to be more courageous and more determined to address the problems and find a peaceful means of coexistence. Do we have the right leadership in the Middle East or North Africa region as well? Leadership is very important. In Kurdistan region in 1991, where the Kurdish Spring started, we were able to achieve prosperity and security stability because we had leadership who had vision and who had commitment. At the same time, there was an uprising in the southern part of Iraq. It failed because it lacked some of the elements that we had in Kurdistan region. And the first thing we did, we called for elections. We went to elections, we elected our parliament, we formed our government, and I don't claim that we are perfect. We have our own problems, but we have been on the right track. We have been able to prove ourselves and to show the rest of the world that we seek partnership. It's important, instead of talking about a security arrangement, talking about partnerships, partnership on certain common ground that we all agree upon. Because yes, security is not only the militarization of these countries, but there is food security, there is energy security, there is water security. These are also sources of problem among the countries. Turkey, Iraq, Syria, Iran, probably they are meeting for water issues. That's why we have enough that would divide us than uniting us. That's why we have to think realistically and openly about all these things. Is it right time for people to sit down? We have not felt it, because even now when we talk about the right to self-determination for Kurdistan region in Iraq, immediately Tehran comes up and says we are against it. Why? I'm talking about something within Iraq. It's between Erbil and Baghdad. Why should Iran give the right to itself to tell me you don't deserve it? Why do you deserve to have a state of your own? Why not me? That's why respect the international borders, respect the territorial integrity of the country. Don't interfere in the internal affairs of your neighbor. Let them decide among themselves. What we ask for is realistic approach. Be realistic, be respectful of your neighbors, accept their desires of aspiration. If Erbil and Baghdad get to agreement, I don't believe it's for anybody else to interfere and determine on our behalf. But if we are to look for an arrangement, on what basis? We have to accept each other. We have to accept on peaceful terms that we are ready to live in this boundary, but also to stop threatening each other. The language of threat does not help. Being ready for solving the problems, stopping interferences, a kind of balance of power that would give room for everybody to benefit from it, and also try to use the institutions that have been there, whether it is JCC, the Arab League, the Islamic Conference, etc., etc. I don't know what they have done in order to help solve the problems. Apart from complicating some of the issues, we have not seen anything, because I'm talking from my perspective. I'm not talking about an ideal world, or I'm too naive to discuss it, because this is my history, and this is the oppression that we have suffered. Even in today's Iraq, that we played a very important role in rebuilding this Iraq, we have not been rewarded. In fact, we have been punished. We have been punished because our budget has been cut as a result of political disagreements. Second, even in the fight against ISIS, we did not receive enough support from Baghdad. We are grateful for the US-led coalition, which has provided support. In terms of the humanitarian assistance, we are home to this large number. It's only the international community that's coming to help. Therefore, we need to find proper arrangements within the countries and also among the countries.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. When you look at